To the 2019 Maryland Statewide Learning Collaborative welcome call. My name is Jimmy Whittyfield. I'll be facilitating some of the call today along with colleagues. We are excited to have everyone here on the call. Other concerns, partial government shutdowns. We know that, and not to mention working in the field of child abuse and neglect like you all do, but this is a busy and maybe stressful time for you all. So thanks for taking the time to this call today. I'd like to start by acknowledging that funding for this project comes from the Maryland Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, and really thanks to the effort of Kathy Myers at the Center for Children and Vicki Grow at the same center, who are able to get the funding and are managing this program. It is very exciting to be offered for free to sites. I'm sure that we acknowledge the funder and the Center for Children who's managing the project in Maryland. Often there is a disclaimer, and I just put this up, that the Maryland Governor's Office does not necessarily endorse anything that I'm going to say today or in general. They are merely providing funding for us to do this training and are really thankful for them. The number of people going to be involved with the Learning Collaborative. I'm Jimmy Whittyfield. I'm the training director for the Problematic Sexual Behavior Training and Technical Assistance Program. That does include the National Center on Sexual Behavior of Youth. Millington is also going to be involved. She couldn't be on the call today, unfortunately, but is very much looking forward to participating on this project. If I call on Jane, if you would like to introduce yourself, and then we'll move to Erin Taylor after Jane. Up and just off. Funny thing, Jane's office is right across the way from me, and even though our doors are shut, all of a sudden I heard Jane go, "Oh no!" So that's how she had accidentally gotten off. Erin Taylor, if you're on, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, just make sure. I'm Erin Taylor. I am part of the Training and Technical Assistance team here. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, trainer in the PSB CBT model, so we'll talk about, and before this call was working on my TF-CBT certification. Sorry, Jimmy?
No, I think that's great.
Thank you.
And back?
Oh my God, this is why I'm not in charge of technology. I thought I was unmuting myself and I hung up. Hi, everybody. I'm Jane Selewski. I'm the director of the National Center of Sexual Behavior of Youth. I'm a clinical psychologist, and my passion is around systems change and how we can improve services for youth, and particularly youth with problematic sexual behavior. So I'm excited to work with all you senior leaders and thinking about funding, sustainability, making it a reality in your agency and in your community.
Thank you. We also have Carrie Schwab on this call. Carrie, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Everybody, I am Carrie Schwab. I am the training coordinator. I've been with the Problematic Sexual Behavior Training and Technical Assistance team since 2010, and doing a lot of the logistics, kind of behind-the-scenes stuff throughout this learning collaborative.
Thank you. People on the call, I don't think today include Holly Salem, who works with us as well to help Carrie with the logistics, so you might see emails from her, and Gardner, who is a faculty member here. She has her Juris Doctorate, and helps to handle the business end of things. So she'll be in touch with people around something called a Business Associate Agreement, which we'll talk about later. I wonder, Vicki Grow in Maryland, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and also Kathy, if she's not on the call. And I'll get you unmuted.
I have that microphone thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Vicki Grow. I'm the Training Grants and Policy Development Specialist for the Center for Children. Basically, my role in a lot of this is to coordinate the training that was associated with the grant. So a little bit like Carrie, I'm sort of the background coordinator. I've taken care of a lot of the logistics in terms of the venue where you guys are going to be doing training, accommodations, and those types of things. And of course, I'm here for any of you if you have questions. And I'll do my very best to answer them. If I can't, I'm sure Kathy can. Is Kathy on the call, Jimmy?
I don't see her name unless she's just as a call-in user, and I don't see it though.
Okay. Kathy Myers is the executive director of the Center for Children, and we've been around for, about close to 30 years now, and in the community and children who are abused in different ways. Kathy is actually in a training program and has been for the last 2 days, so that could be exactly where she is. She's mostly the writer for 98% of the grants that we get, and she did write for this particular one, and here. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people involved. We, of course, expect you all to be able to write our names perfectly and to identify us by sight. So here are pictures, at least, of the OU team. Everyone being able to introduce themselves. So hopefully we see each other in Maryland. Those of us that are coming there, you have some sense of familiarity. On today, we have some information to cover. I want to be able to introduce all the sites, do a quick review of the Learning Collaborative model and the training process, important information around rollout and dates. I know there's been a little confusion, and I'll apologize for that in a moment. And there are questions at the end, so everyone is fully prepared. So moving along, there are 4 sites that are going to be participating, and hopefully you all can see PowerPoint slides. If you're not joined in front of a computer screen, you can see the slides. I sent out, multiple emails yesterday. I apologize. The email I sent out had the handout with the correct information. So hopefully you're able to follow along. Center for Children in La Plata, Maryland has been through training with us before in a different project, so we're excited to have them again. I think they'll bring a tremendous strength to this project. They'll be training some new staff. And Child Advocacy Center of Montgomery County in Rockville, Maryland, more recently completed training with us, and they're training additional staff in their organization as well. There are Family and Children's Services in Bel Air and Prince George County CAC in Landover. See in the map, you do span quite a large area from north of Baltimore, south of Washington, D.C. So it looks like a good representation. For the state. I'm wondering if we could quickly go through, and I'm going to mute everybody, and so there'll be some background noise. But if there's anyone on the call for Children's Services in Bel Air, now, if you could just let us know if you're on the call. Here from Family and Children's Services in Bel Air.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Weeks. I'm from Family and Children's Services.
Hi. Do you have other people with you, Ms. Weeks?
I'm not sure. I think that our leader, Amy Myrick, was supposed to be on the call, but I am actually calling from home today. I'm not sure if she is.
Get extra points. Thanks for being on.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Who is on the line from Prince George County CAC?
It's Ruby Nelson. I'm with George County CAC. I'm director of the Child Advocacy Center.
Thank you for being on, Ms. Nelson. It's good to hear your voice.
Yes.
And Lisa Larrabee is on, too.
Yes, we're from CAC's partner agent. from the Prince George's Child Advocacy Center's partner agency, Maryland Family Resource. My name is Lisa Larrabee, and I also have Mary Payton with me, and I think one or two other people might have come in.
Thank you. I love having this collaboration with CACs. Welcome.
A call from Treehouse CAC of Montgomery County.
Hi. I don't know if you can hear me, not in front of the computer, but my name is Jess Silberman. I'm a therapist at the Treehouse CAC, and my colleague Emily Pecan is also on, but I don't know if her computer has a microphone. So we're both on the call and looking forward to the training very much.
Yay.
Thank you. And who's here from the Center for Children in La Plata? Besides Vicki, of course.
Megan Wills. I'm a therapist at Center for Children.
Excellent.
My name is Veronica Brown. I'm a program coordinator with the Center for Children.
Okay. Commuting, folks, so we can move right along. We appreciate people speaking up. Being on phone can be awkward, and particularly trying to figure out muting and unmuting. Emily Pecan did message me that she is on the call. Thank you for letting us know. We are very excited to be in Maryland and to use the Learning Collaborative model to bring evidence-based treatment into the state. I'd like to ask Jane if you want to just briefly overview the Learning Collaborative mission.
Learning Collaborative is a way of providing training to have shared knowledge across teams to really boost the implementation and sustainability success. And we definitely have seen, as we've worked with teams across the country, a benefit to learning collaboratives and an extra benefit when the learning collaboratives are all within the same state, because you have shared understanding of policies and procedures in your state, and then a bonus benefit when you have the CACs involved. So that's one of the many reasons why we're extra excited about doing this work with you guys.
From the information call, you'll remember this graphic, and for those that don't, we'll go through it quickly. The Learning Collaborative model is set up in a very structured way, and it's been something, like Jane mentioned, that has really helped us with training across the country to help teams sustain evidence-based treatment long-term in their communities. The big gist of the Learning Collaborative model that we are using, that we're in a pre-work phase now, so to the left of the screen in kind of purple, we're having this kickoff call. We'll be giving you pre-work materials, which we'll talk about in a moment, and then move into the actual live trainings, the learning sessions. There are 3 learning sessions that we'll talk through, and in between each learning session is an action period. It is a lot of lingo. We'll get you acclimated to it, and anytime you have questions, let us know. Our collaborative model applies to clinicians and senior leaders, so this is everyone involved in the project. I see that Amy Myrick has joined. It looks like she's joined by video. We can see you, so don't pick your nose or anything. She may hear me yet because she didn't look up and smile. Well, let's talk through the actual training that we're going to be doing. And this is where I want to apologize. There have been some changes in dates and venue as we're trying to pull details together and logistics together. So today is the welcome call. It says January 14th. That is clearly wrong. Today is the 25th, unless we're traveling back in time. Sessions 1, 2, and 3. And these are the important dates. Learning Session 1 is February 28th and March 1st. That's about a month away. Session 2 is March 27th, 8th, and 29th. 3 days. Learning 3 is later in the year, October 3rd and 4th. And so you should be planning for being in Annapolis we are going to be at the Crown Plaza, and so you can start making arrangements there. See again on the PowerPoint, if you have access to the screen, it's just a map of where all of the sites are, and there's a large star icon showing Annapolis, and make arrangements for all 3 learning sessions to be there in Annapolis at the Crown Plaza, Annapolis. If you have questions about lodging or getting to and from, Vicki would be a great person to ask. Yes, those of us in Oklahoma, but we are just going to Google map it, and that may lead you astray. You may wind up in Miami, which after the cold weather may not be such a bad deal. We've through in multiple types of materials that a basic PSB clinical team is comprised of a senior leader, someone who has authority to make decisions, a clinical supervisor, and then clinicians. For sites that are hoping or planning to do the group modality of the treatment, you need a minimum of 4 clinicians. Clinical supervisors and senior leaders can also wear multiple hats and be clinicians as well. For sites that are going to be doing only family therapy, minimum of 2 clinicians. And so, I believe everyone that applied has indicated the right number of clinicians coming on. I think one or two sites were in the process of identifying and hiring people. If you're trained, you are trained in the model, the PSB-CBT model, and then your delivery is group or family. If you're delivering the group modality, you can also do the family modality very easily. But if you're only doing the family modality and you later want to bump up to do group, you'll need a little additional technical assistance from us to help happen more easily. So just keep that in mind. People that will be participating, as I mentioned, is someone who has got authority to make decisions within the agency, and that's to help with program implementation and sustainability. At least one senior leader has to participate in all of the live training sessions. Learning Sessions 1, 2, and 3 have a clinical track and a senior leader track. And if leaders are pulling double duty as clinicians, we work out how to make sure they get the clinical track and the senior leader track information. But it's so important to have someone who can be an administrator that can help with referral sources, marketing, etc. And leaders also participate in monthly administrative consultation calls to get ongoing technical assistance. If you have questions about who's senior leader, I think you all identified who would be senior leaders in your organizations. But Jane Solowski and Aaron Taylor are the people to talk to on our team in Oklahoma. Next is more of a business housekeeping piece. In order for us to fully implement the learning collaborative and fidelity monitoring of recorded therapy sessions, we'll talk in detail about that in a few slides. We have what's called a business associate agreement with each individual site, and that's an agreement that allows us to receive and manage electronic protected health information. Trish Gardner, the member of our team who manages BAAs, will be reaching out to each site. We will need to identify who the best person is at your organization to co-develop the BAA. Anything additional you want to say about that?
I summarized that well. If we were together, I'd ask you to let us know if you ever even heard of a BAA, because a lot of times we've worked with an agency who's never heard of that. If you have language already and you use BAAs, we can use that. If you have questions, just ask Trish or myself. But identifying someone as quickly as possible from each agency that will submit recordings would be good to do quickly, because we need to have that in place before Learning Collaborative 2.
Lawyers often are involved, at least on our end at the University of Oklahoma, can slow things down, and so I just want to reiterate the quicker the better. So don't stress out about it. Usually it's a seamless process, but we'll do to get started. We're getting requirements and some details. please, it's an overview, so if you have questions or it seems like we're going fast, you will get this information in printed form. It's part of bits and pieces of this are in the information guide you receive. We have several documents that we'll share with you. Remember, you have access to the handout of this presentation. Trained in the PSB Cognitive Behavioral Therapy model, which is the evidence-based treatment for children with problematic sexual behavior, ages 7 to 12. There are things that we want. One thing everyone has done already, which is submitting applications, and have everyone's applications. Those help us to fine-tune details about the training. Pre-work assignments. So you'll get, following this call, it may be today or Monday, you'll get an email from us with a pre-test. It's a 16-question true or false test. Please search any of the answers. Give it your reading knowledge on these items. We'll also request, once we get the pre-test, that you complete the National Children's Alliance PSB video learning series. That takes 2.5 hours. There's no charge. You can watch it as a group. Each get a certificate. You'll have the opportunity each to get a certificate of completion that you have to submit to us to verify you did complete the PSB video learning series. Also, if you are not trained in trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, their online introductory training is a minimum requirement. It may cost $35 if you did not complete it before 2018. This is amazing training, and while you're not going to be doing TFCT as a part of this model, trauma-informed is really important. And also foundational skills within cognitive behavioral therapy are really outlined very well in the in the online intro training for TFCBT. It did a live training of TFCBT, which would be the actual live training for the model, or you nationally certified in TFCBT, you can submit your certificates of completion or certification to us, and that would count as well. I plan on that training taking about a 10-hour minimum, but more you are doing it, so plan accordingly. Other requirements of the training is attending the learning sessions. We really don't like people to miss those learning sessions, but we know life happens, and so missing a learning session, if you know it's going to happen, please let us know when we can start planning for how to ensure you get the training and when you're absent. And also participating in consultation calls. For the group modality, therapists have to complete basically 2 rounds of the group. There's a child group and a concurrent caregiver group. And so therapists, for example, would start in the child group, that's about 4.5 months, and then switch to the caregiver group, which is 4.5 months. And so they have to complete both child and caregiver, submitting fidelity recordings, and at least 4 families in the group. For agencies that are going to be doing the family modality, in 6 months, each therapist would have to successfully complete treatment with families. And so I want to make sure that people have experience doing the model with more than just one family, right? It's hard to gain mastery on just one. I want people implementing the curriculum or the model, really not just fidelity to the treatment, but also with the appropriate conceptualization of the youth. And so be evidence-based in your conceptualization. And that's what we cover in Learning Session 1 and 2. As I mentioned, participating in the consultation calls allows us to hear your conceptualizations, hear how you're assessing children, hear how you're doing with fidelity, and incorporating our feedback. Skipping ahead a slide or two. I mentioned earlier that sites to pursue fidelity will have to record therapy sessions and submit them to us. We review particular sessions and provide feedback, and that allows us to check for fidelity. Is a requirement. And we'll be checking through recordings and our consultation calls. Therapists are really assessing progress or lack of progress for kids in the program and make decisions based on that information. requirements, of course, include things like making sure that there are appropriate referrals, boys and girls between the ages of 7 and 12 that have learning and problematic sexual behavior. Also, we need agencies to allow the clinicians ample time to participate in consultation, the live trainings, and to do the fidelity recording piece. You'll need appropriate clinical space. If you're doing group therapy, that means having rooms that can accommodate a child group, a caregiver group, and those rooms being large enough to accommodate everyone all together. We work for the fidelity monitoring piece to get video recordings. So audio recordings can be accepted. If you are concerned about video recordings, please talk to us. We particularly like those for the children's group because behavior management within a group setting is so important. That allows us to see what's happening, to know what kids are paying attention or not, just through audio. And then having the equipment to do recordings and to upload to a secure platform. This is a little redundant. I neglected to take that out. As around agency requirements, that you'll have clinicians doing intake assessments for these children. And the thing that Jane is going to talk with senior leaders about is the importance of using measures like child sexual behavior inventory and other measures to help clinicians make informed decisions about treatment, recommendations, treatment progress, etc. Measures really does make a difference in the quality of services being provided to families and us doing the best we can in our service to them. After a learning session and action period 1 are coming in about a month. I already talked that senior leaders and clinicians are required to be at this training and clinical supervisors. So anyone that's going to be providing the model involved in this project should be here. Or not here, but in Annapolis for the learning session. And thinking ahead for program sustainability, if you want people in your organization to be a within-agency trainer in the model, they have to be at these live learning sessions. That is a requirement to be a within-agency trainer. And thinking even long-term down the road, being a regional trainer in the model as well. I talked through some of the pre-work assignments that we'll send a pre-test. Once we get the pre-test, we will send out to each clinician information about the NCA PSB video learning series. Remember, you'll need to submit your certificate of completion of that. Then also we'll need verification of your AFCBT training, whether it's the online introductory training or if you did a live training or you're nationally certified, we need to read that certificate. For learning session 1, some pre-work that each of you will have as a site is coming up with a brief description of your agency, a brief introduction of people that will be involved in the project. Ready to share that at learning session 1. Each site will get about 10 minutes or so to kind of overview who they are, but also think, including in your introduction, why the community is ready for PSB treatment. What's been the big things that you've seen? And that can be big successes, it could be big challenges, but give us a sense of where you're at in this process. I want every person that attends Learning Session 1 to get ready to talk about the required readings, the NAPSB video learning series, and so prepare 2 or 3 questions about the research, about the background. I need to ask those questions during Learning Session 1. A lot in the literature and the research, and your questions can be around something you don't understand. It could be around the implications of research findings or other pieces of the literature. You can bring with you some items that you thought were particularly striking to you from the pre-work. And so what you were really surprised about, what seemed really great, what seemed really confusing. We want to be interactive. Leaders, we want you to be prepared in the senior leader track to think about referral process for your PSB program, so initial thoughts or actions that you've taken, and then also an idea of your timeline for program implementation. Jane, right in remembering that you were going to reach out to senior leaders before session 1 to touch base?
Yes, and you may have already received emails from Holly Salem to schedule that. We'd like to have one call before Learning Collaborative 1 to answer questions about the Business Associate Agreement, about community change pieces related to this, and most importantly, making decisions as a group across sites of core measures such as child sexual behavior inventory. This comes from actually recommendations from senior leaders in previous learning collaboratives, so that our Learning Collaborative 1 training on assessment is specific to the measures that you as senior leaders would prefer being used in your project.
Session 1 is February 28th and March 1st. So please make sure you get that on your calendar. We've already talked that there'll be 2 tracks. Our goal is to review the literature background on day 1 of the learning session. It's just really practical for your community. And start this process of establishing everyone as local experts on kids with PSB. Then we will just the rest of our time in the clinical track assessment training, problematic sexual behaviors in children. And the senior leaders, as Jane has already mentioned, will track thinking about referrals and timelines, but really getting the program established and working with your community partners so we're all starting off on the right foot. So learning session 1, we'll have about 4 weeks or so before the next learning session. And during that time, really what we want happening is clinicians assessing kids, so building a caseload for group or family therapy. And that means that senior leaders will be working on referral pipelines. If you need to modify forms, etc., actually everyone is pulling that together and getting things done. We have a consultation call in action period 1 to touch base with clinicians and senior leaders separately. The technical assistance portion and ongoing training via consultation starts then, and talk through as well. Sometimes ahead of myself, so I apologize. 2 is toward the end of March, March 7th, 28th, and 29th. This is about two-thirds day training. And for learning session 1, the last day of training, we're done by 3:30. Learning session 2, on the last day of training, we're done by 3:30. And it was the same for learning session 3, last day done at 3:30. Learning session 2, we will have a review of learning session 1 and assessments and what's happening for each site, but we're going to zero in on the clinical model. We'll get clinical meals at that time. We're going to go through every module. It's very interactive in terms of practicing skills, having discussion, talking about how you will start doing this once you return. Leaders continue with their own track with Jean. They'll get some of the clinical training, so you get a sense of that, but then you just continue your conversation about program implementation and sustainability. Following session 2, so in April, between April and mid-May, we really want sites to be up and running, providing the group modality and or family modality. So we children start receiving services quickly after learning session 2. The information and training is fresh on your brain, so let's get it into action. This is all the time that you would start recording therapy sessions, and constant moves to twice monthly. So in the 1st and 3rd weeks or the 2nd and 4th weeks. So to continue the training and be able to provide fidelity monitoring feedback. So I'll have monthly consultation calls with Jane, and we'll be continuing their work through that medium as well. Later in the year, October 3rd and 4th, you will be very sad. I will not be returning for learning session 3. Shell Millington will be there in my place. Make sure she brings lots of tissues for the crying. This is really and whoever laughed, thank you. Thank you. Learning session 3 is advanced training or booster training for sites. There are defined topics right now. We comb through fidelity notes, consultation notes. We get ideas from teams and senior leaders about where you need some additional support. Leaders during this time are continuing to work on financing, sustainability, and implementation planning. At that point, they're also deciding generally their agenda as well. So learning sessions and implementation. The dates, just to make sure we're all clear, you can tell I got very nervous about that. Learning session 1, February 28th and March 1st. 9 to 5 on the first day, 9 to 3:30 second day. Session 2, 27th through the 29th. 9 on days 1 and 2, 9 to 3:30 day 3. And then learning session 3 later in October, the 3rd and 4th. It should only be day 1 and 2. I do it to me over this PowerPoint, and I apologize. Learning session 3 is only 2 days, not 3. Maybe staying for some personal time. Maybe that's why I added it. And we at the Crown Plaza, Annapolis. For admin supplies are a number of things that you'll need for the training. And I feel like I have egg on my face, but Jane, training supplies are included, correct?
That is correct. So I was wondering, It's like you're not emailing a list. We're going to actually have shipped a nice tub of materials.
Yeah, so everyone gets training supplies as part of this training. So the Stop Black Think game, therapy puppets or hurdles, and some other materials that we're providing. So we're excited to be able to do that as, again, part of the funding through the governor's office. Also, the clinical handouts that you use treatment, access to in digital format through the National Center on Sexual Behavior of Youth website. It's where we store those materials. The mails are not available in digital format right now, but you'll have access to home activity sheets, other clinical and handouts as well. So with supplies and treatment, et cetera, agencies will just need to make sure that you've got correct storage space, right? Where are you going to keep your materials? Not just supplies for treatment, but thinking intake assessment, materials, anything else you might have for the program. So start thinking about that. And if you're doing group or even family, just make sure that you've got the appropriate furniture to have children of different ages and sizes. We provide every site with some posters for therapy, like sexual behavior rules, steps, etc. You've got wall space to put those up. Again, be thinking about that. We regular masking tape so it doesn't damage the paint or finish on our walls, but different agencies have different rules around posting things on walls. Have decisions made about that. If we need to do something different, let us know. In terms of program rollout, the training piece of it, it is ideal if you can identify someone who can be a lead clinician. And ideally, that's a person who would just help make sure that the staying on track. That might be a clinical supervisor who's involved. We also think it's important to have someone who can really be a program coordinator in your site. Someone can help manage incoming referrals, answer questions about the treatment program, make sure that materials are ready to go, that group treatment materials are fully stocked and ready to go. A topic that Jane will be talking with senior leaders about, but really has become a valuable piece of many sites across the country, probably at the site. We also want programs to start thinking about having time set aside for staff meetings around the PSB program. And so we have a pre-group staff meeting and a post-group staff meeting that allows us to talk updates regarding our children, plan how to implement the treatment so it's individualized, and I'll talk through any barriers or successes that we're experiencing. Also thinking through who in your agency might need to have some orientation to the program. So your agency has not been serving quote-unquote offenders in your space. when the receptionist finds out that kids with PSP are going to be coming in, that person going to be really stressed out because they've always seen these kids as offenders. And changing the language to language, child with PSP, and what your plans are around these kids are going to be in our space. This is how we're supervising. This is how we're making sure that all children are safe. So you may need to do some in-house work just to make sure everyone's on the same page about this program being in your organization. You'll be responsible for getting to and from the Crowne Plaza Annapolis. So, of course, that means that you're managing transportation, lodging if you're staying there, or if you're driving back home. And so just be thinking about that piece and planning your travel. Start planning on how you can make sure that staff have enough time to do the pre-work activities. We know that people often need a little bit more time when they're implementing a new evidence-based treatment to read materials, to prep for sessions. So being thoughtful about how that process will go. But I think it bears some repeating. Again, looking at your clinical space, is it big enough? Do you have enough space? We're going to put supplies. Make sure you've got recording equipment for therapy sessions. One of them that we've had with, or that sites have had, is they thought they had equipment that they could use, but then it records in super high definition, which makes it a 14-gigabyte file. Now, our system is not going to take a 14-gigabyte file. And so working with your IT or whoever understands the recording equipment can change that to low definition, can actually transfer it to a computer where it can be uploaded to a site. If it can't, how equipment that you can, or do you have a digital audio recorder? Sure that equipment is available and works, etc. It also means that you might need to have IT look at your firewalls for your server or your internet so that you can upload to a secure encrypted site. And you'll hear about that from us soon. We are required to use by our university. It's called SyncShare. Sometimes you'll see this Syncplicity. Holly Salem was created for people at your site. So we'll be reaching out to identify who will be uploading recordings to Syncplicity. Get an email from the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center. Allows you to upload to only your site folder. So I have access to any other folders on Syncplicity. From our team, the only people that need to access your folders are the only people that have access. So it's not into everyone on our team or our office. Often just Carrie, Holly, and me access to your folders on Syncplicity. We transfer your recordings to our secure server here at the Health Sciences Center, and those folders are also restricted only to the people who are going to be reviewing your recordings. So we go through extraordinary lengths to keep your protected health information secure. Be reaching out, like Jane mentioned earlier, around making sure that you have all of your questions answered. Any information you need from us or from Vicki and Kathy, to make sure that everyone's prepared for learning session 1. We're asking you all to upload a test video to share once you have your account. And I set a deadline of March 15th. So that's in between sessions 1 and 2. That we take a 5-minute video, or an hour video would be even better, of a blank wall. I don't care if it's your closet out your window. I would prefer not to stare at you for an hour, but, you know, we could get personal like that. I'm okay. Just a test video that you can upload by the 15th. That'll help us to start troubleshoot any problems there may be with uploading recordings. The goal is if you don't get it uploaded by the 15th, that by the time that you're providing clinical treatment, there are still problems, and that will delay your therapist from being able to reach fidelity in the model. And we really want to avoid that if at all possible. at the end of our call today. I want to make sure we had about 10 minutes for questions. And I have on the screen the dates that you need to be mindful of. Lesson 1, the end of February, beginning of March. A deadline to upload a recording, the odds of March 15th. Learning 2 is toward the end of March, the 27th through 29th. We are hopeful that sites will be able to get treatment services up and going by May 10th. That's about 6 weeks for learning session 2. The world will not end if you get to May 11th and you've not started seeing kids. But we want to set an expectation for this to happen within a time frame. So training fresh, kids are being served, and programs are being implemented. Session 3, the beginning of October. I'd like to first open it up to Jane and Aaron. If there's anything that you want to add, and after that, Vic and Kathy. Before general questions.
Jane, you did great. I have no additional things.
Aaron, for me? Great. Vic and Kathy, anything that you want to say as we're in the Q portion of our call?
Thank you.
Your team does stay at the hotel. They are willing to give you the government rate. So, and if you have any problems or concerns with logistics, please don't hesitate to call Vicki.
People, if you background noise, please mute yourself. If you have nothing to share, you can either mute yourself through the WebEx window or on your own individual phone. Please do so if there's background noise coming from you. Any questions from anybody?
You said early on that if you choose to remodel over the other, it takes additional training. I think that if you choose to do family, it takes additional training to do group or reverse. And what's the additional training?
Here I mentioned that everyone's being trained in the PSB-CBT model. And the model can be delivered through a group modality. Delivered in a family modality. We really encourage that everyone consider implementing this in a group modality. There are so many benefits to that. If you're in group, you can do family modality easily. Earlier I mentioned if you're going to do the family modality and you want to eventually do group, that you have some additional technical assistance, not necessarily training, but conversation with our team to talk about how to get a group up and going, how to manage an open-ended group so that it is ongoing throughout the year. Families join at any time except sex education, which we'll talk about in learning session 1 and 2. It really is just some support on how to suddenly have an ongoing open group and how to manage that. So it's not additional training necessarily, but technical assistance around structure and logistics.
Okay.
Keep asking that and clarify. I hope that was helpful for other people as well. What questions do people have?
This is from that far. I was just wondering if they were ever able to for CEUs for the trainings. I know I asked about that in December. I wasn't sure if anyone decided to do that.
Thank you, Lisa, for that question. Yes, Vicki Grove, there in Maryland, is working to get CEUs for all learning sessions.
Great.
That'll be available. She is actually waiting on me right now to come up with some learning objectives. I'll get to her today or Monday.
Thank you. That's wonderful news. Thank you, Vicki, for doing that.
Amazing. You can tell I have a healthy ego. But I don't want to assume that I was so amazing that I gave you every piece of information you needed. If you have questions, we have still about 5 minutes, but you can always email our team believe everyone has gotten emails from us already, but if not, the email address that you can send it to is OU-YSBT, so OU-YOUTH, P S as in sexual, B as in behavior, at OUASC.edu. Vic and Kathy also have our email addresses. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to them, and they can get you in touch with us if needed. With everyone being on the call today, I appreciate your patience with me yesterday with the multiple emails. Look forward to meeting you all, along with Erin Taylor and Jane Solowski, Vicki, Kathy, for session 1 on the 28th. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed for good weather, for no flight delays or cancellations. And if you have any questions, be in touch. Otherwise, we'll see you for learning session 1. Thank you very much.